Thanks so much. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Oh, there was at least a couple of people in my session earlier. That was pretty ordinary. Let me just try that again. Good afternoon. Thank you. The first question I have to ask you, some of you already now obviously know the answer to the question. Who honestly has had a fair bit of trouble going to sleep the last few nights because you've just been so excited about the fact that I got to do the last keynote today? Great. I'm just looking at a show of hands. I bought some books to give away, so please, I'd like to say a very special thank you to you. Let me just ask the second question because it's usually easier, but certainly without integrity in its response. How many people found that even today you've had trouble focusing because your mind's been racing forward with anticipation? Where are those people? As I said to you, there was no integrity in that response, but thank you any much for the feedback. So let me just ask the honest question so we can get into some work. Who really doesn't care who I am? You just want a free book. Where are those people? Excellent. No, I was just checking. Thanks very much for that. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about you, and when I talk about the best version of you, let me help you remember who that person is, because how many people here have been on a first date at some stage in your life? You've been out with at least one person at least once. Who's had that experience? Who would agree on a first date you were amazing? Who remembers just being the best you that you could possibly be? And yet, if you continue to go out with that same person, it only takes 3 months. All our research says 12 weeks in the job or in the relationship and things change. At the beginning, your best you, your date is 10 minutes late and you go, ha, 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 that's okay, that's fine. Can I get you a drink? That's the beginning of the relationship. Who would agree about 3 months into that relationship, it sounds more like, what's your phone not working? Couldn't you call me? And then people wonder what happened when you started at your current role, in your current job. How many people remember your job interview, and at your job interview you were sensational? Seriously? Obviously enough to convince someone to give you the job. That was the best version of you, and I'm asking you to think about how do you bring that person to go and execute all of the things that you need to do as a result of the inspiration and the education, the information that you've received at this conference. How do you go and do that? Not every day, but almost every day. And I have a very rose-coloured metaphor for those of you that I'm working with for the very first time. The rose-coloured metaphor has to do with your energy. And at one end of this energy dichotomy is that of a typically developing 4-year-old. How many people here right now have their very own typically developing 4-year-old? Where are those people, please, so I can see? How many people have had a 4-year-old but they've rolled on in time? Thank you. And just so no one feels left out, who's at least been 4 at some particular point? Somewhere deep in your psyche, you must have some memory of what it's like to have this insatiable energy. I've got 2 children, one who is 14 officially and one about to turn 18. At age 4, neither of those children would have come up to me as a parent and said something like, Dad, it's been hell out there in the sandpit today, mate. No, fair income. I've had a couple of bridges go down, I've had a truck go over, and really I've had enough. Seriously, I'm just going to push upstairs, grab a sleep for a couple of hours before dinner. If you could wake me up in time for dinner, that'd be great. And keep the noise down too, would you? Thanks. I suspect that's never going to happen, and that's one of the options that you bring. That's you bringing your best version of you or not. Your best version of you is this crazy, passionate, wise, curious, problem-solving you. That's you. And I think if you're having a good life, you are the person bringing that kind of energy into the world. Because at the other end of this dichotomy, in terms of energy, who's ever had to live or work with someone that you thought was dead but not buried yet? Has anyone ever had that experience? And again, if you're not sure who I'm talking about, these are the people you ask them how they are and then they tell you and you think, actually, I was just being polite, really. I didn't want to know. These are the people that I've discovered in all of my adult life are the ones that get lied about at the farewell morning tea. Seriously, how many people have been to the goodbye party, the farewell morning tea, and you know what was being said about the person leaving was simply not true? Has anyone had that sad experience? Same speech every single time. It just depends on if it's true or not. People go, I'm really going to miss Bruce. Bruce is going to leave a real hole in our department. And if it's true, it's true. And if it's not true, people are down the back going, hole, arsehole. Honestly, who at some stage in your professional life has only ever gone to a farewell morning tea because you could smell sausage rolls coming from the staff room? Seriously? You know, sniff your way in down the back with your mates. Hey, who's going? Oh, awesome. Where'd you get the sauce? And you grab something to eat and disappear back to work. So we're going to explore that dichotomy, and I want to test a few principles. I want you to see for you, via a self-assessment, how you will rate on some of the dichotomies that we will explore today. So here's the first invitation. In a moment, I'm inviting you to stand up, and I'm inviting you to start a relationship with a person in the room that is in front or behind you within a QE. You'll end up in groups of 2 or 3, but ideally in a relationship with people that fit certain criteria. The 4 criteria, please, I'm asking you to satisfy, if possible, is ideally A, not someone sitting either side of you. Someone B, who is least known to you. So as you look behind or in front of you, or a couple of seats up, or if you're in the aisle, you are strategically placed. Someone that is least known to you. Someone C that you regard as energetic and intelligent looking. That's the 3rd criteria. And if you're a little anxious about criteria C, let me give you criteria D, which isn't really criteria, it's basically advice. The good ones always go quick, okay? So my advice to you will be acting fairly rapidly, just so you know that you're not going to be one of those awkward people left over at the end, and that can be a little bit anxious for some people. So please, here's the invitation, please. The invitation, let me just be really clear, this is just a temporary uprising from your seat and a temporary relationship with someone who is A, not either side of you, B, least known to you, C, energetic and intelligent looking. And just a tip on that, if you are like doing a little scoot around looking for a partner and you're getting this sense that you've kind of connected with someone, but they kind of just keep looking as if they haven't seen you, and you get that horrible sense of abandonment that we all had. Who remembers those times at school when they were picking teams? Remember? And there was just 2 kids left and you were one of the kids left, and even just with 2 kids left, the team captains would still go, So if for some reason you're getting a sense that you are being inadvertently overlooked, please can I encourage you to raise your hand. Inclusion is key. Raise your hand. Someone else that's been inadvertently overlooked will obviously see that you have your hands up, and that way you would have at least satisfied the first 2 criteria. Okay, so please, in groups of 2 or 3, will you please stand, start the g'day, how you going conversation. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please clap your hands once if you can hear me. Go. Clap your hands twice if you can hear me, please. Go. Great, thank you. Welcome back. And here's what's going to happen. You are going to make a decision in a moment in your partnership, which may include 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 people. And the very simple decision is this. You will need a person A, a person B, person C where applicable, and a person D where applicable. So just do the little agreement as a group. Person A, B, C, D. Everyone's got that sorted out. Thank you. Please. Person A, where are you? Person A? Person B? Person C, where applicable? We'll have a few of those. Persons D, where applicable? Person B, where are you? You're going to go first, okay? And person B, even just then, gave me a clue about the assessment that you're about to give yourself. Because in a moment, person B, I'm inviting you to share something deeply personal with your partners. And when I say deeply personal, you will not have to go, I've got this rash, it won't go away, okay, sending me crazy, not sure where to go. So it doesn't have to get to that level. But honestly, when I started to invite you all to stand up and find a partner, in that 1/300th of a second, is that registered in your thalamus? What happened? Was there a little tripwire that just straight down to your amygdala that pushed you into this very obvious emotional response of humour that you went, awesome, I love these things, this is great, excellent. I know we've sat for a while over the last couple of days, but this is a chance to move. I actually just read recently, the more you move, the less bowel cancer you have. So this is a good thing. I'm up, I'm moving, this is good. There would have been some people here that instantly, when life presented something just a little bit different to you, some data, some information, a request to do something that's a little bit extraordinary, some of you just would have put the happy pants on and went and found someone. Some of you, I reckon, usually based on my research, if there are 300 people here, I reckon there would have been maybe 5 or 6 of you that did that. Because there would have been some people here in this room that didn't go to the top drawer and put the happy pants on. When life presents something to them that they were not expecting, they go straight to the bottom drawer, put the cranky pants on, and in that 1/300th of a second, what was that internal representation to yourself? Oh, I hate these activities. Man, this is change. Yeah, we talked about change, but not on my shift. Thanks very much. Yeah, I'm happy to be flexible and spontaneous, yeah, but only when it's my idea. I better not, there's no touching. I'm not touching anyone. I refuse to be touching. If it's going to be one of those kind of sessions, I'm not touching anyone. Oh, man. Someone asked me if I, wanted to go to South Bank and have a few drinks, and I should have just said yes, but now I'm stuck here, and now I'm even going to have a partner. I can't kind of bail on them until the end. So there would have been maybe some people who did that. The same way if you were driving home from work and there were detour signs, there would be some people here in this room that would go, oh, awesome. I have lived in this village for 20 years. I have never been down this street. How cool is that? And then be other people straight to the bottom drawer, creaky pants on, going, oh, the council, it's 8 o'clock at night, there's nobody working. Why are we doing 40 when nobody is working? Like, honestly, where do you go in that moment? When you get to the fridge and there's no milk in the fridge, I wonder how many of you go, oh, there's no milk in the fridge. I'll go and get some. As opposed to who's ever worked with someone who has stormed out of a staff room going, oh, am I the only person who buys milk in this place, for goodness sake? Am I the only person? Like, seriously. The more I listened this morning as having a child almost 18, I'm thinking you need every piece of energy that you can. You need to certainly keep a sense of humour so that you can present your best you to the families that you serve, to the children that you will work with. So please, person B, you're going to kick off the conversation and then you'll just chime in as required. Honestly, when the invitation was there to go and find a partner, were you in the top drawer, happy pants, or were you in the bottom drawer? And for those of you right now that are going, oh, well, I didn't go to the top drawer, but I didn't go to the bottom drawer. I went to the middle drawer. There's no middle drawer. You're either helping, you're advancing task in relationship in the most positive way, or you're diminishing it. There's no neutral. You're either advancing something, helping it, or you're taking away. So please, person B, you got about 35 seconds, 40 seconds. Kick off the conversation with your partners. Get an honest response from everyone. Go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please stay where you are just for a moment longer. I'm not inviting you to share that information publicly. What happens on camp stays on camp with the people that you are with. But seriously, with what impact on your own physical and mental health? We know now it's no longer just a guess or because someone thought it was a good idea that you'll be much better physical and mental health if you can default to humour in that 1/300th of a second as opposed to putting the cranky pants on just every chance you can. So person B, here's the invitation. You're going to deliver a 30-second speech to the other partners. Your other partners are going to pretend to listen while you're speaking because they'll be thinking about what they're going to say when it's their turn. And person B, you're going to start off with a 30-second speech, and I'm going to stop you at the end of 30 seconds so you know when the time is up. Person B, your 30-second speech is, why would people look forward to seeing the front of you versus the back of you? Why would people, if they saw you coming down the corridor at work, would go, it's you? Awesome, as opposed to seeing you come down the corridor at work and going, oh, if I went in on level 2, I wouldn't have even seen her today, okay? It was an accident, I came to level 3, I didn't mean to, I meant to go to level 2 and then up the stairs, but there she is. So, why would you be so much fun to live with, to work with? Please, person B, you've got your 30 seconds, your time starts now. finish, please. Finish. Thank you. Finish. Now, what's the good news for most of you, and you know who you are? I just interrupted you, person B, but for some of you, person B, you know also who you are. Why was I peering out into the audience? Because some of you got to about the 15-second mark and went, I'm out of content already. Why would anyone look forward to seeing the front of me? That's it. I can't think of any other reasons why. So please, person C, if there's a person C, if not a person A, your 30 seconds. Time starts now. Go. And that's time. Finished. Finish, please. Thank you. Now, how many person Bs were genuinely impressed with person A or C right then going, really? Honestly, out of all of the people that I could have got, I got you. Seriously, this is good. I would love for the other partners to have a go, but happily we don't have enough time for that. But seriously, have a look at your partner. If you need to, just have a look at their name badge to remember their names without having to look back down at their breasts. And please say goodbye, come back and grab a seat. Thank you. Now,
We think you've got very restricted anyway.
oh really? Top drawer, bottom drawer. Thanks for making the effort, folks. Now, what's the good news? If you came to the secret men's business, we'd already talked about the issue of managing agreements, not people. And one of the key things we talked about there is what's the agreement? If you're trying to manage people, people are way too complicated. Let's get really good at managing the agreements that we set up with people. And then if people are outside the agreement, we come back to the agreement, not the person, in the first instance. And we have agreement with a lot of the professional services firms that we work with around the world that if your staff have got the cranky pants on, the agreement is that you can send them an email with a video attachment. The email with the video attachment is a reminder. As I said earlier today, C.S. Lewis said people would rather be reminded than instructed. It's a reminder. Can you please bring the best version of you back to work, not the cranky pants version? The person that we interviewed, that we said yes to at the job interview, we'd like that person back, please. Not this other person that turned up 3 months later that we don't really recognise from the interview. We want the other one back, please, if we could. And I have to tell you what cracks me up, and it's happened a couple of times now. The funniest time, I was in a beautiful city called New York, and I was with my client who does tax, auditing, finance work. 3 floors of 200 people on each floor. It's very quiet except for the tapping of keys and the occasional muffled voice through this open plan office where there's about 180 people in open plan and about 20 offices around the outside. Over 3 levels. Jim and I are having a bit of a chat because I had to explain to our American colleagues that we never ever have a whole chat. We only ever have a bit of a chat. No matter how serious it is, we better have a bit of a chat about that. The same way that if you come to Australia, you'll never have a whole barbecue, it's just a bit of a barbecue. So it's like, we never have a whole anything, it's always a bits of something. And so Jim and I are having a bit of a chat, and we heard the music from the video clip. Someone must have received it in their inbox because the agreement is if you get it in your inbox, you have to turn up the speakers on your PC and play it as a reminder to everyone else to bring the happy pants along and come along and problem solve and do what's on your job description, not the other stuff that you brought along 3 months down the track. And what cracked us up, because it's all quiet, you could hear the do-do-do-do-do from the music, and it was like meerkats. You could see people popping up over the top of workstations on their tippy toes, having a look around to see somebody's getting some feedback to say that they suck. Could you please stop doing that and come back and be that best version of you? It's not ours, it's one that we got off the internet some time ago, but it's hard not to laugh. It's kind of hard not to be reminded that if it isn't fun, how do you just keep the fun? Now, it's hard not to laugh, but absolutely no word of a lie. I opened a conference last year in Melbourne. They had their same annual conference this year in Sydney. And it was the anniversary. I was there on Wednesday in Sydney last year in Melbourne. A guy came up to me at the morning tea break and said, "Just so you know, mate, we have a zero harm policy in our workplace. That video you show was incredibly irresponsible. We spend thousands of dollars a year teaching our staff how to drive safely on the road, and I thought that was inappropriate." Absolutely dead set, deadpan, fair dinkum about this. And I'm looking at him, and in my head I'm thinking, I hope you have a nice cancer, okay? Which is what I was thinking. Because you are going to die early if your instant default, it's a very statistically significant increase in the correlation between that kind of thinking and cancer. I kind of got the funny side of it, and I acknowledged his concern and I thanked him for the feedback. Some people just can't help it because that's all they've known. It takes a fair bit of work. It takes another 6 seconds if you want to get back up into your frontal lobes as opposed to taking the shortcut. So if you're shortcut straight to the cranky pants, then guess what? It can be different. We believe in neuroplasticity. There's enough research to now argue that you can't change. When people say to me, "Oh, well, that's just me," I will say, "Well, you used to poo in your pants once too. That was just you." You got some feedback to say that wasn't so good, and then you've changed your behaviour. You go, there's a better way. There is a better way. So maybe if you want a better way, you want to live a long, healthy life, find a little more humour. One last thing on this, and I don't know what your workplace looks like, but one of my favourite things to do is to go into people's staff rooms, to walk into the staff room and to see if they've got cranky pants signs up in the kitchen. You know, the ones that say, "Your mother doesn't work here, wash up your own stinking cup." You know the ones that I'm talking about? "Your arms aren't painted on, you moron. Give it a swish around and stick it in the dishwasher." In this city, I won't dare say the name of the company, but let's just say there are a lot of engineers that work in this business. 6 floors of a building in the city, 2 staff rooms on each floor. Every kitchen had the same sign. Any food left in the fridge at 3 p.m. on Friday afternoon will be systematically destroyed. Plastic containers will be microwaved down into unrecognisable pieces of petrochemical and disposed of in the receptacle beside the refrigerator. Honestly, I'm like feeling the love just coming out of this kitchen. So what I do is I take down the cranky pants signs and I put up stupid posters and quotes with a little PS, "Could you leave the area tidy? Just out of respect, it's still a kitchen, just leave it tidy, please." What cracks me up is normally by the time I've gotten to the airport, my client will ring me and say, "Just so you know, the cranky pants person who puts up the cranky pants sign has gone into the kitchen to see that their cranky pants sign has been taken down and your stupid poster is up, and boy, are they cranky." Seriously. Honestly, I can replay those conversations in my head at night time and still laugh out loud, just listening to that again and imagining it happening. Oh, it's kind of funny. So the first one I want to show you actually comes from the United States. I do a lot of work in the United States. This was an Indianapolis newspaper, a community newspaper, and this was the winner of Put the Caption on the Photograph from the previous week's competition. And they had a new picture there that you could add your creativity to. So this was the winner of the previous week's Put the Caption on the Photograph competition, and I thought it was gold, honestly. Now, I'm just looking. Nobody really wants to look, but you're looking, aren't you? It's like, I don't want to look. It's ridiculous, but I just keep looking. One of the other ones that I put up, and I'll only show you 2, is a quote. I did, in the days where I employed about 120 staff in a range of different businesses, I got my management team together with an outside provider to come and do some 360-degree feedback. And as the CEO, I had my management team complete that feedback on me. And I got some feedback from my team to say that, Bruce, at times, you can be nauseatingly positive. Honestly, you see the best in everything, the good in everyone. Could you just turn it down a little bit every now and then? That would be great. Now, I did tell them that I live by a quote by a guy called Albright that said, having a positive attitude will not necessarily solve all of your problems, but it will annoy enough people to make it worthwhile. Okay, so I do live by that quote. I acknowledge their concern, and I said, what would it look like if I was a little less positive? And they said, just a bit of sarcasm. Just a little bit of more sarcastic humour every now and then, that would be good. And I said, well, sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. And they went, well, who cares? It's still a form of wit. And they all cracked themselves up when they said that. And I went, okay. I rang Vivian, CEO that I work with in Victoria. I said, Vivian, I need something from you that's really sarcastic. A poster, a quote, something. I've had some feedback. Well, why did you ring me? You're the most sarcastic CEO I've ever met. What gives you the right to say that? And I said, when I first asked you how you motivated your staff, you said, well, we pay them. And when I said, how do you know that motivates them? You said, try not paying them. And you giggled for like a minute. You just kept going back and you thought that was funny. So Vivian emailed me a quote that I put up in my office that I got some feedback from my HR people suggesting I should take it down. But I left it up there for 4 weeks. Some people are like slinkies. Does everyone know the curly, wiry things? Some people are like slinkies. They don't really have a purpose. Who's got people's names popping up in your head already? You're going, got a couple of those on my team. Some people are like slinkies. They don't really have a purpose, but they still bring a smile to your face when you push them down the stairs. By the way, could you leave the area tidy? So, please, do this for me. Put your hands out like this. Just give them a bit of a rub. Just go, this is just going to be fun. This is going to be fun, okay? All right, so that's the first thing. The next thing's a bit weirder. If you thought that was kind of weird. In terms of your own energy, we know 4-year-olds, if it isn't fun, they'll make it fun. They want it to be fun. If you're not got fun in your pedagogy, you might as well be dead. Seriously, from their perspective. The other thing that I think that they do better than us as grown-ups is that they seem to maintain, in the typical sense, a better sense of gratefulness as opposed to cynical. 4-year-olds are generally more grateful than they are cynical. And I'm not talking guilt-ridden gratefulness that maybe you and I might have grown up as good Catholics or Protestants. Who got a bit of good guilt-ridden gratefulness at you? Anyone get, you should be grateful you've got a roof over your head. It's like a Monty Python skit live in your own kitchen every night. You know, we used to live in a shoebox in the middle of a freeway. You have no idea what it's like. How many people used to get the one, oh, you should be grateful there's food on your plate? Because there are people starving in only one continent. Only one continent, Africa. There was no food shortage anywhere else in the world, just Africa allegedly. And at age 13, when I said to my father, oh, I'd already did you should send some. I've tried that one on. I had a new one. I had a bit of insight. I said to Dad, if you care so much about these people in Africa, name one of them, Dad. I got a bit of feedback that night, just saying. I reckon it would have been a 10-year jail sentence in 2014. It was more like a physics lesson, honestly, because it was the first time that I realised that my father could actually move faster than the speed of light. Because he literally, I didn't see him move, I just felt something. Does that make sense? There was no obvious, I was just on the repeated receiving end of some feedback. I certainly would have preferred the video, that would have been a much better option, but it just doesn't kind of always go that way. So honestly, for you personally, where do you default to? 4-year-olds, when they wake up in the morning, that's when the gratefulness starts. And if you haven't had your own, very own, typically developing 4-year-old in your house for some time, or you've never had one, please go and hire one for 2 days. Give a parent some respite, and you'll know that the first thing that they do when they wake up in the morning is just go, Ripper. This is good. Ripper just means awesome, great, fantastic, okay? I'm just translating here. You know, I speak German and American, okay? Ripper. It's like, this is great. 4-year-olds do not wake up. Typically developing 4-year-olds in Australia would not have woken up today going, Friday. Thank goodness this is the short week at kindergarten, because fair dinkum, what's the bet, we'll be finger painting one more day. You know? So much for individualism. I'm actually tactile intolerant. You think that would come up at some point, but oh no one's bringing that up. And you know, we got those other 2 kids in the class. God only knows why they're there. I'm sick of doing this thing, you know, more. How many days can you do that? 3 days is enough. Thank goodness this was the short week. And then just when things are cranking up, got to lay down with your blankie, have a bit of a nap. How many people know that's not the internal representation for the typically developing 4-year-olds? I can't imagine 4-year-olds just down there at the water station after a good 15 minutes out in the playground going, how's it going? Oh, mate, up the shit, mate. You? Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I've just got a few people on my back at the moment. It's just quite annoying, really. In the government, what can you do without that? Like, it's not happening in any shape or form. Seriously. They do a little more grateful than cynical. So we're going to do something really weird and kind of the weirdest thing that you've ever done at a conference. So I'm going to ask you to please stand in a moment and find your group. When you find your group, person A, you're going to start. You're going to have a competition as a group. And the competition is completely unlike the number one couples competition that most people play in the evening called Who's Had the Worst Day competition. Who's played that? This is where intelligent people try to compete for who's having the most miserable life right now, and you're not the winner of that competition, of course, unless you're the most miserable person in the house. So it's the antithesis of that. This is a little bit of gratefulness tennis. So person A, I'm grateful for. Person B will continue it on. Well, I'm grateful for. Person C, well, I'm grateful for. Person D, I'm grateful for. Back to person A, I'm grateful for. However many people in your group, you will just cycle through. How do you win a point? You win a point if you catch somebody saying the same thing twice. So if somebody repeats something that they're grateful for, call it. 15 love to you. You've got 15 points in the bank. Okay. So your goal is to get as many games as you can. Now, what's the other way you win a point? You're going to get some rhythm. There'll be some cadence to this. I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for. If someone in your team goes, if there's any idiosyncratic pause, utterance, if there's any written uto, if there's any delay, claim the point. Claim the point. 15 points to you, someone else serves it up again, and away you go. Now, the only rule that I have is that the more you get involved, the less stupid your partners look. Does that make sense? So if you're there and serving it around the group and your partner's going, well, I'm grateful for the fact that this session's over in 1 hour. Okay, one of you is going to look like you're a little potentially hyperactive and the other person's going to look a little dead, not buried yet. So please find some good level in your group for this game. Don't do anything too crazy. We've got people on stairs, we've got people in all sorts of places, so keep yourself safe. I had a group in Edmonton in Canada and I couldn't see them. The house lights were seriously quite bright, but the spotlights on me were ridiculous. I had a very shallow spill of people that I could see and I couldn't see anyone else, but I could hear them. There were some people over somewhere there just going, woo! And you can hear this like Sharapova thing happening backwards and forwards. You don't have to go to that level, but if it isn't fun, how do you make it fun? Please, stand, go and find your partner. Person A, you've got 60 seconds to play this game. Go. Please stay with your partner, and if you could all just thank them at least with the customary tennis handshake, if you would. Stay with your partners though, and here's the question. Right now, if you just checked in on your own physical and psychological health, who would agree you're in much better condition than you would have been if you had played a 1-minute game of Who's Had the Worst Day competition? Seriously? If all of a sudden the most difficult, challenging parent, the child with the most complex disabilities presented themselves, you'd be in a better place right now to go and be of service to those people. We know that, and as Lewis said, people would rather be reminded than instructed. Consider yourself reminded. And not in the guilt-ridden way. I rarely use the guilt-ridden way with my own kids. Every now and then it helps. Seriously? We don't do the whole Monty Python skit, but we do the whole, hey, well, I'm grateful for the cook. And it's turned into quite an interesting grateful competition because my son will go, well, I'm grateful for the cow that sacrificed its life. And then I'll say, well, I'm grateful for the refrigeration mechanic that kept the refrigeration on the truck in good nick to take it from the abattoir to the shop. Well, I'm grateful for the guy who invented Glad Wrap because it wouldn't have come home in really good shape without that across the top. And we do this for about 30 seconds until the ADHD kicks in and then we go and do something else. But it's kind of a good, fun way. I asked 300 Year 12 students. Every now and then I go and talk to Year 12s. At the beginning, I always wonder why I said yes, and at the end, I know why I said yes. And I was doing something similar about Your Best You. This is on the north side of Brisbane, 300 kids. It's the beginning of grade 12. They've been on vacation for the last 10 weeks. It's their first day back at school and they've been told to come and listen to me for 4.5 hours. How many people suspect I am not walking into a room full of gratefulness, problem solving, curiosity, humour? I'm walking into a room full of cynicism, cranky pants, whinging, criticism, and that's just the teaching staff, okay? And then I've got the 300 students I need to deal with as well. And I got to this space and I said, could you please stand up? And they stood up. What noise do you think? I said, that's fine, you can sit down again. And they made the same noise, just louder. I said, we're going to try this again. Could you please stand up? And you can see them. It was on a crescendo to double forte, okay? Could you please sit down? And you could see the cynicism oozing out of them. We've been standing up, we're sitting down. This better be going somewhere, mate. You know, like it's like they're in this thing. These are like 17 and 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds. And what was amazing, this was 2012, I talked to this cohort every year. What was amazing this year was there was a guy there called Alan, and we had an agreement with Alan. Alan knew that this would happen, that when I asked his colleagues to stand up, that they would probably open the hole in the front of their head and make an awful whinging, moaning noise. And we had an agreement about the questions that I would ask and what his response could be. And so at this point, I left them sitting down and I came off the platform and I went down to Alan and I said, Alan, what noise would you make if I said stand up and you could? What noise would you make if those two people at the back of the room didn't have to move you every 45 to 60 minutes just to keep everything working inside of you while you're in your chair? He knew he didn't have to answer. He just smiled. He had a wicked sense of humour. He thought this was so cool. Everyone knew him. He'd been at the school since grade 8. He fell off his bike, broke his back and his neck, was a quadriplegic since that time. He's been at school the entire time. There were 325 people just reminded that maybe if you could actually stand up and go and find your partner, maybe that's not so bad. Sometimes the perspective's useful. So please do a couple of more things for me before you retire to your seat. Just have a look at your partners, please. Just have a look. Okay, that's enough. Back at me. A Year 10 science question. For the professionals, this is an obvious question. How many people recognise at some stage in the future your partner will be dead? Is everyone aware of this? Everyone understands the cycle, 3 score and 10, a few bonus ones, and that's about 90%, and then the other 10% go early. Everyone knows that, right? So just have another look back at your partner. Okay, that's enough. Here's the value judgment. How many people suspect that maybe at least one of your partners might go before you? Anyone thinking that could be true? Seriously, who would agree, if you need any other reason than this, that if you wake up tomorrow morning and there is no white chalk line around your body, who would agree that's a pretty good start? Seriously? No matter what you got coming, if that's not happening for you, like that is a really, really good start. So last thing with your partner, and I promise you this is the weirdest bit. We'll go back to a bit more mainstream in a moment. But I want you to imagine, we're going to drinks after this, I've been told. There's a little bit of, swanning around outside, which is fantastic for those of you that drink, for those of you that don't. Put the happy pants on. Oh, see, what's the bet? This was included in the registration fee and I don't even drink. I'm not even paying for drinks. Just put them in the bottom drawer, put your happy pants on and come and have a soda water with us outside. I want you to imagine that you did have a couple of drinks and you and your partners have gone out tonight on the town. Who's now wishing you had to pick someone else? Anyone thinking that? And it's tomorrow morning and I'm going to ask you to do the weirdest thing you've ever done at a conference. I'm going to ask you to imagine you've had a wonderful night together. You're waking up tomorrow morning. It's all together but platonic, if that makes sense. There's been no I promised you no touching. There was no touching. And you are feeling a little dusty just from tired and the dancing, and maybe if you had a couple of drinks, you're a little sort of still hungover. But what you're going to do is your own little acting role. Oh, what was that noise? That's okay. I'm a patient person. Welcome, consciousness. There's plenty of consciousness coming at you in the next few years. Welcome it. So what's going to happen? You're going to have that early morning stretch, and you're going to look around your body to see that there is no white chalk line around your body. Then you're going to have an intense, loving look at your partner. I'll count 1, 2, 3, and then at the end of 3, you're going to throw your arms up in the air and say, "Ripper," as loud as you can. Now, just reassuring you, Ripper just means good, great, awesome. It's not. We're not trying to trick you. We have no secret videos here. You understand at least, okay, because we've got a queen on the back of our currency still, okay. So that's another subject we'll get to, okay. So let me just revisit it for the very structured learners. It will be everyone participating. We only get one go because that's kind of what happens with life. You're going to have the stretch, you're going to look around your body, then you're going to have the loving look. Now, what's important is that you hold the gaze, because if one of you's looking and the other one's... One of you is going to look like a stalker, and that's awkward, okay? So I need you to hold the look. And the other thing that I'm inviting you to do, please, at the end of 3 will be Ripper as loud as you can. Why? Because you've got another day to have another crack. That's not a bad thing. So please, have the morning stretch if you would. Look around your body, you are alive. Grateful look at your partner. 1, 2, 3. Ripper! Okay. Will you please thank your partner, say goodbye, come and grab a seat, thank you. Now, I promise you that's the weirdest bit that we will do, but what am I hoping tomorrow morning? I'm hoping that when you wake up you think that's a good start. That you find a little more gratefulness and a little less cynicism, a little more humour, a little less cranky pants. And what do we know in terms of our own capacity to influence other people? We know, and thank goodness for the neuroscience, because how many people at least suspected that at some particular point when you've had an argument, you weren't the best version of you? Has anyone ever had an argument and even forgotten what that you were arguing about? And or even found out that you were wrong but continued to argue that you were right anyway? Honestly, you are stuck in a part of your brain that's barely keeping your heart beating. When you dive into the bottom drawer and put the cranky pants on and you're buried deep in cynicism, you can't even access your prefrontal lobes. You cannot even get into the best part of your thinking, which explains why. Who's ever had that argument and on the way home, you thought of all the good things to say in that argument after the argument? Who's had that? You're finally back in the best part of your brain. You're driving home going, that would have shut him right up. Why didn't I think of that? Well, why didn't you think about it? We now know that you are neurologically not even able to think of it at that particular point in time. We need to present our best version of ourselves most of the time. Not every day, because that would be kind of weird. But if you could do that most days, with what impact on the people that you get to serve, the people that you get to live with? We recognise that everyone has good intentions. Very few people I've ever met have bad intentions. People allegedly have good intentions. I've never been at the Saturday night bit of a barbecue ever and said to someone, "Mate, how's things going at work?" "Oh, Bruce, thanks for asking, mate. It's going pretty well. There's a couple of people there that still respect me, but it takes a while to get around and shaft everyone. But I'm a patient man. Shouldn't be long. Give me a couple of weeks. I reckon they'll be glad to see the back of me." Now, no one's going to say that out loud in terms of intention. Not ever, and it was referred to this morning. No one's ever going to say their intentions were those negative intentions. But if you followed them around at work for 2 weeks, you'd be going, actually, I reckon they're on track for that. How are things going at home? Oh, look, I'm glad you asked, actually, because what I've found is the constant criticism has really worked. Ontologically lonely, my therapist said it would create, and it shut down the intellectual and emotional intimacy. The constant criticisms worked incredibly well. My kids don't interrupt me during the football now. Wife won't trust me with any information at all because she know I'll criticise it. So yeah, it shouldn't be long. Another 6 months or so, there'll be the separation, the affair, the divorce, and then I can go and do the same damage to someone else. So yeah, going pretty good, Bruce. How's things going for you? No one's going to say that out loud, not ever. But if you followed around at home for 2 weeks, you'd be going, actually, I reckon they're on track for that. Not because people allegedly have bad intentions. People, I think, have good intentions. People want the best possible outcome. But the paradox is that you can't just intention your way into the best possible outcome. How many people, for example, have intended to exercise and in the end you just visualised yourself doing it? Seriously? Oh, good intentions. Seriously, we have a lady in our office who quotes Winston Churchill. We're yet to find out if it's true, whether he actually said this or not. But she quotes him as saying that whenever he felt like exercising, he would just lay down for a little while, just till the feeling went away. And then he could get up and get on with the rest of his day. So, in terms of your good intentions, I want to show you an entrepreneur I met in New York City in 1992. Registered licensed street seller on the streets of New York City. This guy is bringing romance onto the streets of New York City before any change of mayor. This is a new thing for the streets of New York. $1 low barrier to entry in the marketing space. He's recycling even before it's trendy. He's not waiting for a government handout. He's actually out there having a crack. Boom, boom. I'm going to use that forever, okay? I'm sorry, I just love that line. Honestly, what's true about him? Good intentions, yes? But who would also agree that he could lift his game just a little bit? Seriously. Do this for me, please. Have a look at the people in your row on your right-hand side. Just have a little look down the row. Have a little look on the left-hand side, please. How many people recognise that you've got people in your row that could lift their game just a little bit? And again, if you didn't put your hand up, you didn't understand the question, seriously. Everyone's got good intentions, but I can't intention my way into being effective. I have to behave my way into being effective. I can't intention my way into better health. I have to behave my way into better health. I can't intention my way into a better outcome with my child. I have to behave my way into a better outcome with my child. No one's judging my intention. The only person judging my intention is me. I'm incredibly arrogantly, self-righteously attached to my good intentions. Yet if you ask me what they were, I probably couldn't repeat them to you. And in fact, when you ask most people, what are your intentions for today, they probably couldn't tell you. What are your intentions for your relationship with your children? I couldn't tell you. What about your partner? What are your intentions there for your relationship with your partner? What are your intentions for your reputation at work? Intentions are good because when you're on a first date, who would agree you were really clear of your intention? Let me tell you what your intention was. I know it's the after lunch session, but your intention was to make a good impression. That's what everyone was thinking, right? Yes. What are you prepared to do with your behaviour? You're prepared to behave your way into that space, not just intend your way into that space. Who remembers when you first started going out, you would have had at least running water go over your body? Who remembers that? 3 months in, degrease and a respray. That's plenty, okay? Who would agree when you first started going out, you got the aftershave or the perfume, you just didn't dab it on? Who remembers spraying it up into the space and then stepping into the area and letting it fall down all over you? Who did that? Okay, maybe that was just me, but not a bad idea, don't you think? Some people go, a little spray in the bathroom on my own. 3 months in, $80 a bottle, you're not wasting that. No way. Who remembers on the date you didn't even eat as much food as you typically would to the point where you had to come home and wolf down a couple of Weet-Bix? Anyone remember that? Seriously. You wanted some more Cheerios. You wanted something else to eat. Why? Because on the first date, would you like some dessert? No, I don't normally do dessert. Ha! Liar. You normally can't wait to get your trotters in the trough and snort down a bit of cheesecake. Get us a piece of Pab too, would you? Thanks, love. That'd be great. Yeah, nice. No, 2 scoops. 2 scoops. Yeah. That's 3 months down. On the first date, no, I'm just going to have the Caesar salad. Thanks, that's good. Dressing on the side, no croutons or garlic or anchovies. Like, why? Because you're really mindful of your intention. What happens though, over 3 months, all of a sudden we forget our intention. So can I be clear that clarity of intention is a really good start? Because when you're in the car, when you're doing that preparation for your day, I wonder how many of you are thinking, today my job is to serve these people, not to judge them. Today is to see what problems I can solve. How can I help a father recognise that their child just got a little win in the last couple of weeks? How do I bring their attention to something that they've got something to celebrate so they can just go and tell their mates that, yeah, things are getting, good. Yeah, how's Hannah going? Yeah, good. What is she doing now? Well, she's kind of just putting her head up and holding it up for longer than 8 seconds, and we're pretty impressed with that. Record up until now was 6. I've been on the stopwatch, gentlemen. 8 seconds, dead set, head up, looking around. 8 seconds, and then headbutt again. But it's going to give me something. Are you thinking that when you're in the car about to go and visit that family, about to go and do that next service for someone? Are you clear on your intention? Is it crystal clear? Because that's a really good start. On the first date, you were crystal clear about your intention, and then you did what was required to make sure intention equals behaviour equals impact. I had a father come to see me. He has 2 typically developing children. And I love Kevin. We'd have a quiet beer, because in Australia we don't have loud beers, we just have quiet beers. Okay. There you go, mate. Shh, keep it down. Just having a quiet beer. So Kevin and I would have a quiet beer every fortnight. Every 2 weeks we would have a quiet beer. Do a lot of work around the world. I know you have to translate to different languages. And every 2 weeks we'd catch up and have a quiet beer. And for the first time ever, and Kevin knows the work that I've done, he goes, Bruce, I need some advice. On what? My son. What kind of advice? Well, I want to kill him. I don't think I can help you with that. Let's Google it. Let's see what comes up. Okay? And we started this conversation. I said, what's the issue, Kev? Well, he's 7, right? He's in grade 2. Yeah. He gets 1 page of homework on a Monday. He does not have to hand the homework in to Friday. So what's the issue, Kev? Well, every time I bring up the homework, whinge, moan, complain, for example, and Kev's had a couple of quiet beers, so he gives me a little off-the-stool theatrical response. He goes, oh, Dad, not tonight. You know, why should I have to do it tonight? I've got 4 nights, Dad. I don't want to have to do it tonight. And Top Gear's on tonight, and it starts at 7:30. We don't finish dinner until 7:30, and then I have to be in bed at 8 o'clock, and then I have to get out my pencil, I have to get out my ruler, I have to get out my rubber, I have to... a razor, not rubber. I have to get out these things. I get out my book, and then, you know, when will I get the time, Dad? We got 4 more nights. I've already done these words 3 times, Dad. I've already written out these words 3 times at school. Why should I have to do them again? And this math, we've already done the same sums. Why should I have to do them again? Get punished for being smart. And Kevin's given me this big thing, and I'm looking at him enjoying the little show. And I said, well, every time, Kevin? He went, every time. And I said, what do you want from me? And he goes, well, I want some advice. I said, do you want some advice, or do you just want me to make you feel good? No, I want some advice. I'm managing agreements, remember? I have no agreement with Kev, so I'm setting up an agreement with Kev. So you want some advice on your parenting and the whole thing with your son whinging, moaning, complaining about the homework. That's what you want. You just don't want me to make you feel good. No, that's right. That's why I asked. Okay, well, Kev, if it helps, I think the reason why your son whinges, moans and complains about doing his homework is because he's your son, Kev. Who would agree this changed the mood just a little bit? We went from a quiet beer, he's just about blowing the top off his 3rd beer, and he's going, what's that supposed to mean? And I said, mate, have you ever heard, and I'm leaving out the adjectives and the nouns, okay? Have you ever heard what comes out of the hole in the front of your head when you do life? When you explain life, to use a Seligman term, when you explain life to you, to us as listeners, do you explain it in a way that involves problem solving, curiosity, gratefulness, humour, or do you explain it in a way that is about whinging, moaning, complaining, cynicism, criticism? Honestly, every time I ask you about going to Sydney, because I'm Brisbane based and so is he, and he would go to Sydney regularly for work, every time I ask you, you're like, oh man, yeah, that's right, that's tomorrow. Yeah, you've got to get up stinking early, and only one gateway arterial road, and if if there's a crash on that road, no daylight savings in Queensland, 1 year behind everyone else, actually more like 20, I think it is some days, and then then you take off from Brisbane like it's a surprise. Because when you get to Newcastle, oh, sorry, we have no room for you at the inn. Now I know how Joseph felt every time, because you have to go around every time and swoop around 16 times, and then eventually you can get to land, and there's this big long stinking taxi queue. And I gave this little thing back to him and I said, do you remember that, Kev? And he's gone, maybe. I said, my favourite example, Kev, was when we were at Scotty's place for a bit of a barbecue. And I dropped my wife upstairs with the champagne and the salad and the bread rolls, and all the women were upstairs, a stereotypical Australian barbecue. How you going, ladies? Good to see you, good to see you, good to see you. And then I came down to join the master carnivores at the barbecue. How you going, fellas? Shh, keep it down. Just having a quiet beer. And you were there, Kev. And we were having a quiet beer, and it was all a bit quiet. And I thought, that's right, your wife said you were going camping next weekend. And I looked across that barbecue and I said, oh, Kev, here you guys are going camping next weekend. Do you remember what you said that night? And he's just looking at me with hate in his eyes. And he says, enlighten me. And again, I'm leaving out all the descriptors that go with this, that colour it up just a little bit. And I said, Kev, I need to tell you at this particular point in our relationship that I've told tens of thousands of people this story all over the world. And unlike every other story I tell, I've not changed your name. What I heard that night, Kevin, went something like this. Oh, is that next weekend? Oh, fair dinkum. By the time you get home, you pack the stinking car, you drive for 2 hours. Kids will be feral by the time you get there. We'll be setting up in the dark. They'll be running crazy, annoying all the other campers, and I'll be doing it all on my own, and no doubt we'll leave something behind. You always leave something behind, don't you, gentlemen? And then, yeah, great, they're fast asleep at 11 o'clock. I'm on that stinking air mattress. You never get that right the first night, do you? My missus weighs 65 kilos. I weigh 95 kilos. She's up there floating on a cloud nine. I've got my hips stuck in the sand. You can't roll over quick or you'll flicker off into the top of the tent, and you're absolutely just fed up with the whole thing, and you finally find yourself drifting off to sleep about 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you hear a zip go. And then you know what it's like, fellas, you're in charge of the universe, the protector of the family out in the bush, and you get up to see what's going on, and you realise it's not your 4-year-old escaping into the forest, it's just someone 2 tents down going for a wee, and you listen to that, which is always a highlight. Takes you 2 minutes to get back onto the mattress again, and then you finally feel that adrenaline leaving your body about 4:30, and then it starts. Oh, the birds chime in. They sound like they're right in your stinking ear. You want to get that Winchester out of the bag. Dish, 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 dish. Get out of bed, have the Weet-Bix with the UHT milk. That's a bit of a gustatory delight, isn't it? And then all days. Snakes, spiders, water hazards. 5:30, the mozzies will come out and carry away. Can't even have a stinking fire. You know, there's a total fire ban at Noosa National Park. And I stopped there and I said, Kev, do you remember this? And he's given me the same answer as he did before. Maybe. I said, Kev, you split the group. Half the group were with you. It was like being at a rally. They were like, yes, Kev, preach it, Kev. Yes, yes, we're with you. They had the cranky pants on. They were cynical, whingy. They were just reliving it as you spoke it out. The other half were looking at me going, why did you ask him? Surely you should have known, honestly. We were watching those flames come out of that barbecue thinking maybe we should blow the flames out, let the gas come, get it over with, really, because what's the use of being here any longer, honestly? And I caught up with Kev a fortnight later because we'd had a conversation. I said, how you going, Kev? And he goes, I hate your guts still. I said, why? He said, you said something at the beginning which I kind of heard, but when you said it at the end, it just sunk in my stomach. For the last 2 weeks, every morning I've woken up thinking about you. That's awkward. I have to tell you. I felt like you really questioned my integrity, and I said I wasn't questioning your integrity. I know you're a good bloke and you want a good outcome. That's why you even brought it up. I was just questioning the behaviour and how it impacted. What was the thing that stuck in your head? He said, well, you just had this one thing that you said about that no one's judging my good intentions. And I went back to the comment about how many times has your son sat in the back seat of your car for the first 7 years of his life and listened to you represent life? Has he heard problem solving, curiosity, gratefulness, humour, or has he heard cynicism, whinging, moaning, complaining, cranky pants? How many times has he sat in your house for the first 7 years of his life at your dining table and listened to you represent life, explain life? What does he listen to in that point? Don't worry that he's not judging your arrogant, self-righteous good intentions. Be more afraid that he's judging your behaviour. Everyone's judging our behaviour and how it impacts, not our good intentions. If you saw this dentist, who would be nervous, please, to go to this dentist, even as a health professional? Seriously? If you at any stage in your life have had to do a graphic artist thing and do the briefing to the graphic artist and then the graphic artist comes back with concepts and you have team meetings, it's an arduous task. It can take some time to get to this outcome despite all the good intentions during this task-related activity for this dentist. Who would still be nervous to go to this dentist based on that? I don't want to go. I want to show you one of my favourite ads. Manfred, you should know this ad. It's shown more in Holland than it is in Germany. But it's one of my most favourite ads in the whole world. Why? Because there's no question mark on the integrity of the intention. I would doubt that there would be any question mark on the integrity of any person in this room. People want the best outcomes. I want to do not just the ECIA, I want to do the EFIA, the early family intervention. Maybe that's the next association, because I think you're intervening with families, not just children, and in the best way possible. That's the intention. So what does that look like? It looks like it translates in behaviour, but if every person in this room, including me, could lift their game just a little bit, I think it is just a little bit. It's a fine-tuning. And if you're old enough to remember, who's old enough to remember when radios had dials? I'm looking around. If you're under 30, if you Google it, you'll see videos of it, okay, of dials. Who remembers going to the butcher or the baker or a friend's house and you would walk into their house and you could hear that the radio was not on the dial? Does anyone remember this? It was obvious to you that it was just missing a little bit. Now, what's true when I get to work with big organisations like this is that some of you know each other, and some of you already today would have been sitting here going, oh, well, I'm glad she's here to hear this today because she needs a bit of fine-tuning. I'm okay, but boy, that radio needs a bit of adjustment. I'm fine, but yes, a little less cranky pants on her part would be good. A little more happy pants would be good, because apparently we're okay. It's really easier to notice in someone else's radio. Does that make sense? Here's a bit of fine-tuning. And what used to crack me up about the old dial radio, you'd go to someone's place and you would say, hey, would you mind? And they're going, what for? And you give it a nudge and you go, oh, that's better. And then they used to go, oh, that's better, thank you. Or they just didn't want to talk about it because now they feel like an idiot. But guess what? It's better for everyone. It's better for everyone. So what's beautiful about this advertisement? This guy does not need wholesale change. Just a little bit of adjustment. Who would agree for the bookseller, just 5 centimetres would have made a difference to that guy? Just 5 centimetres. This guy, one thing that could make all the difference. And what I'm hoping is that you've come to this conference and that you will leave this conference with just one thing. That if you actually went and did, that you put the energy into problem solving and not whinging, into humour and not cranky pants, into gratefulness, not cynicism, that you would just with that one thing in the next few weeks get a better outcome. This guy just needs to do one little thing a bit differently and it's going to radicalise the outcome. Have a listen.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Wissensmessers. Das ist das Überlebensradar.
Mayday, mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? We are thinking. We are thinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We're thinking. We're thinking.
What are you thinking about?
It's good. Das ist good, ja? Dankeschön. Not wholesale change, just a bit of fine-tuning. So please, here's the invitation. In a moment, I'm going to invite you back to your partner. We're only going to need them a couple more times. And this will be the second last time that you need them. I'm going to ask you to imagine that every person in this room has a great intention. That people behave in ways that reflect that good intention, but at times the impact isn't what people intended. And what do we know about fair and reasonable people? Fair and reasonable people, equally informed, rarely differ. If you understand that the impact of your behaviour is not what you intend, then fair and reasonable people change their behaviour to match their intention. It's how the jury system works. It's how the feedback system works. My intention is to be the best possible version of me that I can be for me, my family, the people that I serve at work. If that's the intention, good. If you're impacting in a way that potentially is not congruent with that intention, that's when people change their behaviour. They make the fine-tuning adjustments, the little adjustments. Kevin still tells me that he thinks it, but he doesn't say it. When he's dealing with his children, sometimes he thinks, oh, Sydney, not tonight. Don't have to go there. When his son comes in and says, hey, where are you going tonight, Dad? Sydney, the most magnificent city in the world. I told him every time I go to Sydney for work, and I was there again on Wednesday, I will walk down to Circular Quay and look at the view and go, wow, look at this amazing city. Look at this built environment. People pay thousands of dollars to get here. Someone paid all of my expenses to be here. How cool is this? And I'll go and I'll just sit and look and I'll make sure I get 30-minute window, either to run down or walk down and just check it out. Just doing some gratefulness in that space. So here's the invitation. I'm inviting you to go and find your partner. And where do you reckon you may have just a little bit of fine-tuning? Where have you been reminded at this conference? No doubt your intentions are good, but what have you been reminded of? For me, I need to pay more attention to the data that I saw presented this morning, and I'd love to see some more of that so that I can increase my influence with my local Member of Parliament. I'm one of the weird people that write to local ministers instead of having a heart attack at the barbecue on Saturday night. because I find that it's better. It just influences better. People sit up and pay attention. One letter's worth 150 letters to a politician if someone actually bothered to write. So I know I need to do that more, but I need to do that with some good numbers to be able to say, hey, what's happening with this in this state and what's happening with this nationally, because it's going to be different and it needs to be different and we need to be thinking differently already from just what I saw today. So I don't know what you need to do. Maybe it's just leaving the cranky pants in the bottom drawer a little more. Maybe it's just even whinging a little less, because who would agree 4-year-olds don't whinge? To their mates. If they're talking to a parent, that's not whinging, that's called lobbying, that's called self-advocacy. That's called integrity and intention. I want the toy under the Christmas tree. I will do whatever it takes to make sure intention equals behaviour equals impact. That's what that is. 4-year-olds don't come up to other 4-year-olds and go, I don't know what your parents are like, mate, but mine are stupid. No, fair income. Seriously, I've left the Kmart catalogue out, the Target catalogue out. I reckon I've told them 50 times so far, but nothing. I tell you, you will not see me next week. I will not be at kindy. I will be on stress leave. Do not talk to me. You and I get gifted a finite bucket of energy every single day, and you're either pouring it into problem solving or whinging, into curiosity or criticism, into gratefulness or cynicism, into humour or cranky pants. So I'm not sure what you might need to think about differently when you leave here, but I'm inviting you to go and find your partners, and it's just in an any way conversation, whoever wants to kick it off, well, I need to pay a bit more attention to this. As a professional in this discipline, I need to be thinking a little more or doing a little more or just changing this, whatever it is that for you has been stirred in the last couple of days. So will you please stand? You got a couple of minutes to have that chat. Go and find those people and we'll... Oh, that was not a moan, surely. Oh, no, don't let that happen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, will you please start to wrap that up, if you could. We don't want any more, no more. Finish, please. Say goodbye. Come and grab a seat. Thank you. I want to give you a gross, extreme example because I think it's true, and it is gross and extreme, but when you are genuine about your intention, you will do whatever it takes to make sure intention equals behaviour equals impact. And if you go back to that first job interview for your current role, you were on fire. If you go back to your first dates, who remembers going out on a first date? Maybe you've had the chili con carne, you've had the frioli dip, you've had more red kidney beans than you ever have in one sitting in your entire life. At age 17, your intention's good. You behaved in a way that you thought reflected your intention, but you were unaware of the impact at this point. I told you this was a gross, extreme example, but it's the truth because every single person has been here. Who remembers then the next day sitting on the couch thinking, uh-oh, don't think I can hold this little sucker in. I've already had a warning shot. This will take the paint off the ceiling. Sphincter, don't fail me now. Okay, I need to get out of here. I need an excuse, please. Just relax. No, don't relax that much. Drink. That's it. Thank you. Hey, I'm just going to get a drink. I'll come. No, you won't. You will stay right there and you will relax and you'll put your feet up. No, don't even pause it, baby. Turn it up so I can hear it from outside. That'd be great. Thank you. Who remembers going through all of this? I know it's gross and extreme, but I want to take you back to a point of proof. What does it mean? You've gone outside, you've left it outside, you could not risk an uncontrolled release. This is how much thought went into this particular one moment when you're genuinely fair income about your intention, because you want intention to equal behaviour to equal impact. On the way back in, you realised you paid more attention to the social sciences because you missed the tenets of vacuum. You don't understand. It is following you back into the kitchen. It's a spray of the Old Spice in the air, stepping around, little sniff check to make sure it wasn't following you back in, grab the drink on the couch. Miss anything, honey? Yes, I did. You. Okay. Who would agree? That's a lot of effort. And we've all been there. How do you just maintain that? How do you maintain that energy and that focus? I think it starts by reminding yourself every day about what your intention is for today. How do I want to impact today? Not just turn up and just forget. Because if you forget even what your intention is, then almost everything is okay. Everything is okay. You sort of turn up because it only takes 12 weeks. All our research says 12 weeks seems to be this tipping point. Who would agree? Going out with the same person after 12 weeks, you're not even off the couch anymore. It's like, oh, that's a ripper, isn't it? Oh, man. And if you're really in love, you got a reverse headlock on, you got a leg up over the top going, oh, man, that's bad. Oh, man, I'm going to get a drink. Turn it up. I can't hear it from out here. And all of a sudden, people wonder why things are a little bit different. Not because people have bad intentions. Everyone's got good intentions. And I love this picture because who would agree the kid with this pen had good intentions? How many people also know that in most families that you work with, it would be the child that would be in trouble, not the parent? Very few parents would have the presence of mind to go, actually, that was my fault, because I did say, why don't you go and do some colouring in with your sister? That was not a clear instruction. You actually did what I asked you to do. Thank you very much. I need to reframe up my language. I love how you talked about language. What are you saying to people? Honey, why don't you get your colouring book and your pens, sit down beside your sister. Do some colouring in, maybe show her every now and then. That's a different conversation. That's me taking responsibility for that. So please, let me just go into the last two little pieces, which I think are a bit of fun. What gets in the way of our good intentions? I know what gets in the way of our good intentions. Who would agree that most people in 2014 have something called the hurry virus? Already some of you this afternoon would have been thinking about what's next, what's this afternoon, where do I need to be, where do I go, how do I pick this up? We are already overwhelmed. Tell me if you can relate to this photograph at some particular level. Seriously, this is the one. Who would agree? At some particular point, you felt like the donkey. Seriously, who's felt like the donkey? And then you come, and then you got these people coming along and, oh yeah, by the way, you've got to do a little bit of practice-led research now as well. Thanks a lot. Oh, you need to be more inclusive with the families. Yeah, whatever. Okay. You need to be looking at the research from a totally different way and not being relying on other people. Okay. And then you just keep adding. Now I'm telling you, you have to be less cranky and being a little more humorous, a little less cynical, a little more grateful. Enough. Honestly, I am busy already, but so are the people that we work with. There's this hurry virus. How much do we acknowledge the hurry virus? What are the symptoms of the hurry virus? You know the symptoms. It's like when everyone is on edge. No one's fine anymore. I grew up in an era when people used to be fine. How you going, mate? Fine. How's the family? Fine. How's work? Fine. Everyone was fine. Now no one's going to be fine. How are you going? Oh, busy. How are you going? Oh, busy. How are you going? Fine. Fine. Good, come with me. I've got work for you. Okay. No one's going to be fine. It's like a too scary place to be. Everyone's busy and we've got all these symptoms that relate to the hurry virus. What's the issue? It's like I get stuck in this space and I get busy doing what I need to be able to do. Honestly, what does it mean for you? What are some symptoms that you may have the hurry virus? Seriously, you don't generally get a rash, even though physiologically we know that can't come, but generally you don't get the rash. What are the symptoms? Who hops in your car and starts driving before you put your seatbelt on? How many people do that? Because you don't have another 10 seconds in your life just to do that right then. There would be men in this room that would be listening to a phone message and urinating and flushing at the same time, just like three things all at once. Unthinkable in the 1980s, but now just the naughtiest thing. How many people here, despite your patience and your discipline with children, all day have gone home to one of your own children and read a story at 180 words a minute, skipping over a few pages? Yeah, bam, sure, got to go. You got to sleep your kids. Okay, it's that time now. How many people have been down to your local supermarket? You picked up 3 items. You're in the 12 items or less aisle. A sure symptom of the hurry virus is you are standing there with your 3 items, counting the number of items in other people's baskets in front of you. Who's had that? Seriously. You're in this like express lane, no groceries for you, get to the back of the line, I'm going to get my kids at 6 o'clock. If you are the person with 15 items in the 12 items or less aisle, you're not standing there just checking in with your own congruence. How am I going? How did I go today? Checking in with my intention and impact. What might I needed to change? Yeah, I probably would have done that differently. I'm about to go home for the most important 15 minutes of the day. I should be paying attention to my intentions there. Very few people would be in the 12 items or less or with your 15 items having that conversation. You'd just be there working up your speech. I bought 8 1-litre bottles of Coke. That counts as 1 item. So back off anyone, mate. I'm seriously... I'm ready. If you've seen this, and I watch it every week, how many people have filled your boot, your trunk up with groceries? The distance between your garage and your kitchen is 25 metres. A relaxed person in control of their life would make 3 trips with that many groceries, but not you. This now turns into the physical challenge. You are going to do this in one go if it kills you. You are on fire. Strategically lining them up the arms. You've got them bags, kids, maybe, things, everything. You're going to drag something with your foot if you need to. You're going to do this in one go. You are pushing through the lactic acid burn. You get to the door. You think a reasonable person might alight them at the door and make 2 trips from there. But no way, I'm going to just do this in one go. You push through the door. Honestly, if you have children, this is where the satanic voice comes in. Come on, your children! Okay, you shut the door and you get in and you drop down. You got these permanent track marks on your arms and you're just sitting there rocking backwards and forwards waiting for your partner to come home if you have one, so you can play the number 1 competition called Who's Had the Worst Day competition, just to get up and do it all again the next day. Honestly, what does it look like? Who's had whole weeks that look like this? Get up in the morning, get organised, go to work, come home, alcohol injection, go to bed. Get up in the morning, get organised, go to work, come home, alcohol injection, go to bed. Get up in the morning, alcohol injection. With or without the alcohol injection. What do I love? And it's going to happen to you very soon. I love November. It's my favourite month of the year. Why? Because people are surprised when it's November. Who's heard some of the most intelligent people you know come up to you in a voice 1 or 2 octaves higher than they would normally speak and say something like, oh, where's the year gone? I can't believe it's November already. Honestly. And look, I look at them and go, well, you were there in October. The Gregorian calendar's been running this way for over 500 years, but you just missed the whole thing, really. Why? Oh, because I was busy. And all I'm asking you to think about, are you busy paying attention to what you need to pay attention to? Are you busy paying attention to what you need to pay attention to? So, last couple of things, and then, because I know I've got to be finished here right on the dot of 5 to make sure we can go and have a couple of drinks and do what we need to do. So, I was just doing a little revision to see how many people went, because some of you went, we weren't told 5 o'clock, we weren't told 5 o'clock, we were told 4 o'clock, we were told 4 o'clock, we were told 4 o'clock, I didn't look at the program. 60,000 to 80,000 times faster than the long way round to the neocortex. So, a couple of things to finish, please. I'm going to ask you for what will be the last time to go and find your partner. And I just want you to be honest, because with the finite amount of energy that you get, we're either adding to a situation or we're taking away. There's no middle draw. We're adding to, we're advancing the task and the relationship, or we're diminishing the task and the relationship. We're bringing something useful and moving, progressing both the task and the relationship forward, making it better, or we're diminishing that. That's why I don't reckon there is a middle draw. We're either adding to or we're taking away. We're either problem solving or we're whinging. If you looked at these 2 beautiful people, and I love these 2 beautiful people, most of you would think, as an onlooker, that they were whinging, but they seriously, honestly believe that they are problem solving. What do you think?
Oh, that's not good.
I need this. Oh,
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello! There are 2 people stuck on the escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
No, that's it.
How many people have met these people before? And honestly, who's been these people before? Last thing, please. If we followed you around for the last couple of months, last conversation with your partners, what would you be guilty of having a fair dinkum good old whinge about? A good old whine, a good old complain? What would you be guilty of being on the little soapbox? Wah, 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 wah. Could be your kids, it could be the neighbour, it could be the traffic. Could have been no milk in the fridge. Could have been any of those things. Honestly, what's something that you have been guilty about? Putting all of that beautiful finite energy into the whinging bucket and going for it. Seriously, you have got the last conversation to happen with your partners. Please, just a tip, don't actually whinge. Just tell people what you were whinging about. Because we don't have time for the former, okay? So please, will you stand, find your partners for the last time. What was it that you were guilty about whinging about? Thank you. Please. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Person A, before you return to your seat, it's the end of this session. So person A, I'm just going to charge you with a responsibility. What I'm liking you to do with person B or person C, and I know this is probably taking a little bit more of a CBT approach, but I'd like you please to have your finger up like this, person A, if you could. And I'm going to ask you to look at person B and go, not ever again. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, go! Not ever again. Person B, person C, person D, I'd like you to put your hands like this. And I want you to go, thanks for the feedback, okay? Beautiful. Please, will you thank your partnership group? Come and grab a seat and I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you. Come and grab a seat. And there's just one last thing. What do I love about my job is that I get to remind people. I also get to instruct people from time to time, and particularly in the work that I've done with people dealing with life as it presents itself to them in a way that potentially they were not expecting. At some particular point in time, it's worth, and as quick as you can, involving both parents in the process of dealing with this change. And what do I know? And I learned this when I was 19. 30 years ago, my mother passed away. She had a 2-year battle with breast cancer. I was just getting my act together in the final years of school. Most of the people I went to school with in years 9 and 10 literally went to jail. I had 38 boys in my year 9 photograph, and I only had 12 in my year 10 photograph. We were going to do one from the front and one from the side, just for fun. I met some different people in year 11, and in year 11 I met some different people that thank goodness I did, because they were the people that really helped me, even with the issue of my mum. Being a good male, it took me about 18 months after my mum died to finally go and ask for some help, and I met with a woman who gave me a little story that stuck in my head forever. She said, when you're sliding down the handrail of life, sometimes you're going to get a splinter in your bum, and very few people get the splinter in their bum and go, ha, ripper. Love the pain. Most people get the splinter in their bum and they're off the handrail and they're sitting on the stairs having a grief. That's where I was. I didn't realise, I just was a cranky, angry, young sort of 20-year-old, but I realised that I was sitting on that stairs and I was grieving. I also learned that at some particular point in time, the splinter's got to come out. Because if the splinter doesn't come out, it festers. And how many people have worked with people who have backsides full of splinters? We have a name in Australia for them, which I cannot say from the platform, but you'll work it out if I say festering arseholes. They can't even walk without moaning. New legislation. NDIS. More research, practice-led research, whatever. Okay. They're no use. And at a personal level, at some point, we know that the splinter's got to come out because the healing needs to start and you've got to get back on the handrail. People are waiting for you. You're waiting for you. Your own physical and emotional health, it's waiting for you to get back on the handrail and get back and do the ride again. It wasn't the ending of your life. It was just the ending of your life without a splinter and the beginning of your life with the splinter. It wasn't the ending of your life. And I had to learn that. And I had to learn it wasn't the ending of my life. It was the ending of my life with my mum and the beginning of my life without my mum. That transition made more sense to me when I could just represent it to myself that way. That there was a time for grieving, that I would have some time for grieving, but that splinter had to come out, and sometimes I needed other people to help me. I needed to ask what I need. I needed to find some people, experts, and say, gentlemen, I've got this splinter in it. I can't see it properly. Have you got a better view than I have? Because how many people have had someone take a splinter out for you that it was easier for them to see than what you could see? It's like the radio that needs a nudge, sometimes more obvious for you than it is for the person who owns that piece of equipment. So I learned how to grieve for my mum. I learned some things that I still remember to this day. I learned language that wasn't even popular back in the 1980s. This whole issue of resilience, no one was talking about bouncing back. It's sort of something you just work it out. Have a cup of tea and a couple of cold beers and you'll be fine. That was kind of what I grew up with. Well, I discovered it was a little more complicated than that. And what are the facts of life? I learned the facts of life. What are the facts of life? Guaranteed, predictable things that you know are going to happen. For the scientists in the room here, let me just demonstrate something. I'm just checking responses. Good. How many people knew that when I let go of the pen, it would accelerate to Earth at 9.8 metres per second squared at sea level? Yeah, like you're over it, right? That's a guaranteed, predictable thing. That's what the facts of life are. The facts of life are the guaranteed, predictable things that you know are going to happen. Who would agree at some stage in the future, people will cut you off in the traffic? Why do people get upset about that? No one, when I dropped the pen, I didn't see any of you go, oh, did you see that? Oh, no one told us that was happening. It doesn't get any energy. Not 1 ounce of energy because there's no surprise. There will be no milk in the fridge at some stage in the future. Fact of life. That the government will make decisions without consulting you personally. These are all facts of life. When I understood what the facts of life were for my mum, Hilda basically explained to me that people die. That's a fact of life. That people die in very unfair and unjust ways. That's also a fact of life. She also told me that the people that I want to die just won't. That's another fact of life. And so what did I need to do? I needed to make sure that I was doing everything that I could to influence what I could, which is why I still write letters to ministers of parliament. I can fix what I could. I could do what I could, go in and fix what I could, or sometimes just let it be. It is what it is. No amount of grieving was going to bring my mum back. No amount of grieving is going to stop people cutting me off in the traffic. No amount of grieving is going to stop me getting teenagers putting empty milk containers back in the fridge. We put it back in the fridge, Dad. That's all right, I'm going to go and get some. I'm actually planning on having a herbal. I'm not sure what you're doing for Weet-Bix in the morning. How do you just keep it fun? How do you find the grateful piece? How do you just go and do what you need to do with the finite amount of energy that we have every day? When our daughter was born, and some of you know the story, at the 10-year mark, my wife came home and started a conversation with me, which I was quite excited about, and that is it was time to start the breeding program. I wanted 6 kids, she wanted 2, so we kind of compromised and had 2. And very quickly, we ended up with a baby. Very quickly, in that particular room, people we've never seen before. We were there for 3 whole shifts. People we'd never seen before turned up, and we thought, this is a bit weird. What's going on with this? And then basically things were happening to Hannah that we did not know about. She was certainly changing colour, that was obvious to me, but there was nothing else obvious to me. I've never seen a person that's been stuck in a birth canal for 2 hours before. I'd figured they're probably not going to be normal looking. She disappeared, down to intensive care for 4 days, it turned out. The registrar came back that night and delivered her speech, one that some of you would have heard yourself personally. Look, we're not sure what's going to happen tonight. We're uncertain that if Hannah's going to actually make it through, and we're obliged to make you aware of that. She has a very critical and unstable heart condition, and we're 95% certain that she has Down syndrome, and that's going to have some impact on her recovery should she get through the next few days. That was a shock. I was going to ring everyone that Thursday night. I rang 3 people that Thursday night at midnight. Gillian went back to the ward, I went home to bed, Hannah went off down to intensive care. She stayed there for 4 days. It took me 4 days until I got my first cuddle. And I tell you, I was pretty excited to have that first hug, even though it wasn't kind of an official one because there was 3 people with oxygen and all sorts of things happening in that space. But I got my first hug. And somewhere between that Thursday night late and the Monday morning when she came out of the intensive care, we'd written a list. And what's on the list? The list was our fact of life list. It wasn't the ending of our life, it was the ending of our life expecting a regular child and the beginning of our life having a child with different needs. It wasn't the ending of our life. Apparently at the time, 1996, 1 in 780 is born live with Down syndrome. That's a fact of life. How come we weren't told? Well, sometimes you just find out at the delivery, you get the surprise, and for some parents it's 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later that you find out that maybe something isn't exactly as you thought it would be. These are all facts of life. I had a mate come up to me and said, well, at least she won't be pinching cars like you were at age 15. Thank you very much. His wife at least said, you'll have to work harder with her to help her achieve certain outcomes. You'll have to be on this. And she talked about early intervention and the success that had with her son and what all of that meant. And we had this big, long list. And we've been just working through the list. And by way of encouragement to you as a parent who is grateful, and Neil, I can't even look at you or I'll cry. I normally get through this pretty good. There was just someone that shared this journey with us. We brought her home and we listened to you, basically. But what else did we bring as a family? We brought problem solving. That's funny. Oh, isn't this funny? Because what's happening right now is my computer's got the spinning little disc going on and it's going to tell me that PowerPoint had to encounter a problem.
We call it the wheel of death.
The wheel of death? It's not the screen of death. It encountered a problem. Who thinks that's kind of funny? Because I was about to say problem solving. We'll see what that goes on. That's problem solving with my son, my normal syndrome in Breckenridge, making sure that he doesn't miss out on anything as a kid. Here we go. Magic. Oh, of course, I so want to show you my slideshow. I'm a proud dad. A very proud dad. So we bought a home. And what did we offer to what you offered us was problem solving, not whinging. I promise you I've not wasted 1 ounce of energy whinging about Hannah. I must say there was a time about 16 years into living with the Wiggles. I was getting close. I'm in love with One Direction. Thank you, England, for providing that grant. We've been curious, not critical. We've found humour. Humour really helps in that space. We got the splinter out. Why? Hannah was not a splinter, but metaphorically it was the ending of our life one way and the beginning of our life a different way. We needed to get on and do what we needed to do. We've been literally in a space where Hannah has been involved with specialists the entire time. I secretly told the group before lunch that we've been using more than one service at a time, sometimes. I figured almost 18 years' time, it's time to come clean. But I've got to tell you, we had 2 physios and a couple of OTs where we could, and if they didn't ask any questions, we didn't volunteer any information at the time. And we did everything that we could. Hannah's been in a regular school. She does everything that she needs to do. She's about to finish year 12. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, I have to tell you, I put up a little thing on my Facebook page saying, hey, if anyone gets a chance to send Hannah a birthday card, that would be really, really good. I thought it would just go to my Facebook family. Well, a few of my friends decided to share it. It's had 15,000 shares, and the post office tell us we're going to get about 35,000, 40,000 birthday cards for her 18th birthday. How's that for problem solving, okay? Because it's quite exciting. I just know Kevin. I rang Kevin, that person Kevin, you know, I rang him, and he's like straight away going, oh, where are you going to put all the cards? How's that going to work? He was just straight into that space. I have to tell you, the Wiggles are gone pretty much, thank goodness. Hannah's doing writing for the disabled. She does everything a typical teenager will do most of the time, including not cleaning up a room and having the best filthy, stinking attitude that you possibly can. I can predict her period within 1 day. Every time I know exactly when that's happening. She started work experience for the people that were here from YMCA, frothy coffee at the Astley Special School she did last year. Thank you if there's anybody here from there. I have to tell you that she then went on to Bunnings and she did some great things at Bunnings, which are pretty exciting as well. She got her first job, first dance at a Special Olympics disco last year, and I have to tell you, she's stalked this guy for 2 years. I've never listened to my daughter waste 1 ounce of energy whinging. Does that make sense? All the energy goes into problem solving. How do I get what I need? Seriously, I need to do exactly what I need to get what I need, including me taking her to an X Factor audition, which was pretty interesting. Seriously. Just to look at the judge because he didn't know when to interrupt because she was performing. And I have to tell you, Hannah sings like nobody's listening, if you know what I mean. Oh, it's awful, but it's beautiful all at the same time. Honestly, we had the best time in that space. As I said, she has done this work experience in Bunnings. And I think the other thing that's exciting for me is that I get to literally send my daughter to the school that I was expelled from in grade 8, which I think was pretty cool. So it's been a pleasure to serve you. If you don't have the drink that you like outside, when we go for drinks in a moment, just remember, sometimes that happens. If you can't remember where you left your car, that's okay as well. If when you get home, though, someone you live with or work with is going, oh, you should have seen the stinking traffic in Melbourne this morning, do not get a pen out of your bag and go, that lack of empathic response could cause you injury or harm. It's been a pleasure to serve you. If you ever see me in your state, your city, your country, please say good day. Don't duck into a shop and pretend you didn't see me. And keep up the good work. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.